Welcome to another exciting episode of Heart of Home, where we celebrate the beauty of Nigerian tradition and explore how they shape our future. Today, we are diving into a topic every parent can relate to: the art of parenting. We have heard the phrase, things are different now, and when it comes to raising kids, the differences between traditional and contemporary parenting styles are undeniable. As parents, how do we balance the old and the new? Is it possible to find a middle ground, or do we have to choose one approach over the other? My name is Emilia, and I'm joined today by a proud mother who has experienced both sides of parenting. She will share her insight on raising children in today's world while holding on onto the tradition that have been passed down to her. You're welcome, ma. It's so good to have you in our studio.
Thank you. I'm honored.
All right, ma. Okay, so without wasting time, please, can you briefly introduce yourself to our audience? What do you do?
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Mrs. Faith Osemegbe Ohulu. I'm the CEO and founder of MrsFeed Schools and also a co-founder of Marcus Ojanose Ohulu Foundation for Peace and Sustainable Development.
Wow.
Yeah, at MrsFeed Schools, what we do is an EdTech institute that is dedicated to fostering academic excellence, character development, and a lifelong love of learning.
Right.
Yes, we tutor children online from the ages of 5 to 18 years in subjects that varies across mathematics, English language, and sciences. Yes, we also do home tutoring services for parents that actually want their children to be tutored at home. Yes.
That's quite interesting.
Thank you.
Okay, ma. As a mother, right, you're balancing many responsibilities, and parenting is no exception. I am curious, what does traditional parenting means to you?
Okay, traditional parenting is actually a style of parenting that has to do with authoritative and well-structured manner of approach for parents in the olden days. That's traditionally, they are really focused on discipline. They are focused on respect for elders, as well as assigning responsibilities to children. Yeah, so they are basically on about grooming their children in the right path. Yes, because whatever they say, their voice is law to children. So you dare not argue with parents
or question them.
Yeah, or question their abilities. Exactly. So basically, that's what traditional parenting is about.
Okay. Over the years, so many things has changed, and yet some things still stay the same. Let's talk about how old school values show up in today's world.
Okay. Actually, traditional parenting based in the old school values. So it's kind of tricky because those days we dare not argue with our parents.
True.
Yes, we have to say yes to whatever they say.
Even when it's affecting us.
Thank you. Even when it's affecting us. So they don't really care about our emotional feelings or how we feel about what they want from us. We just do whatever they say compared to the contemporary parents. Yeah. So that's basically it.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So you were raised with a traditional parenting, correct me if I'm wrong, but now you are a modern mom. How can you combine the two? What challenges do you face?
Okay, yes, of a truth, I was raised by traditional parents, and they are more about discipline, respect for self, and respect for others.
Yeah.
Yes, and combining both together, the traditional and contemporary parenting, it's not an easy one because you need to create a balance between both of them. You know, children of these days, they ask lots of questions. They ask the why, the what, the when, where, how is it going to happen.
Yes.
So they are very curious.
Exactly.
You know, we have curious children these days, and we just have to ensure that we answer their questions according to how it comes. So creating a balance, it's what really matters for us. So we need to make sure that they are disciplined, they are well respected, we assign duties to them, they are well behaved. And we as parents, we also need to model ourselves to them to ensure that we are setting good examples for our children. So that's it.
Let's get real. Every parent had that moment where they choose to cane or not to cane. Let's talk about discipline. Old ways or new ways, what works in your home or your school?
Well, for me, I use both. Yes, I'm a traditional parent and also a contemporary parent.
Okay.
I don't spare the rod and spoil the child.
The child.
No, I don't do that. I'm an educator, so
Yeah.
I'm a very disciplined person, and I don't like when I see a child going wrong and I keep quiet about it. No, I ensure I call that child to order. Either I spank the child or I punish the child. We have minimal punishment to give to children,
Yeah.
appropriate for their age. Yes. So, yes, I spank my children when they go wrong, and I correct them afterwards. And just when you use your left hand to beat a child, use your right hand to bring
them back.
Exactly. So that's it. I ensure that discipline is instilled in children, both in school, at home, and wherever they find themselves, even in church. Yes, because there was a scenario where my son's Sunday school teacher came to me and said, my son is not responding to questions. And I was like, why? He said, she doesn't know. I said, okay. So I called him and I asked him, what's going on? What's the problem? Why aren't you answering questions in class during Sunday school when they're talking about Bible stories? So he said, nothing. So I figured that he was upset about something. And then I asked him what's wrong. Then he opened up to me and told me about it. So I said, don't keep your teacher mute, because doing that you're disrespecting her. So he went back to class and he was able to communicate properly, and he answered a few questions. So that's it. As parents, you need to ensure that discipline is instilled in the children. Yes, in them.
Okay, let's talk about you being an educator. There are some parents that don't like their children being disciplined in school.
Yes.
So when the children tell them at home, oh, I was disciplined, or my teacher told me to kneel down, and some parents will come to school and like, why will you, beat my child? Why will you discipline? Why will you even tell my child to sit down? How do you handle this parent?
Well, we have some parents like that. Yes, we have the parents that are troublesome, and we have some parents that are calm. For the troublesome ones, we try to give them punishments that are appropriate for their own level of behavior.
Yes,
because we have some stubborn children too, that because they feel their parents are always behind them, when they do something wrong, they can always get away with it. We try to give them simple punishments to manage that situation in order to avoid chaos aftermath from the parents.
Yes.
So that's it. Although parents in schools that are very, very troublesome, we also sit them down and talk to them. We give them some advice, a level of advice concerning their child's approach behavior in school. Yes.
And some parents fail to understand that the way a child behaves at home is different from how they behave
in school. Yes, no, children are two different people, or even three, depends on the environment they find themselves. Exactly. Yes. So there can be three different characters in three different places.
Yes.
So that is children, and it's a one person. Yes. So that's
all right, ma'am. Okay, so what aspect of traditional parenting have you retained in raising your children, aside the the beating and all that? What other aspect do you retain, or have you retained in your home?
Okay, first of all, I retained the aspect of respect
Very
for yourself
important.
and your elders, because you see in 21st century right now, contemporary parents don't really focus on respect
At all.
They don't.
I saw a video where the woman was talking about, I don't know what the child did, but she was like, even if the child did I think the child spoke to an elderly person rudely. And majority of parents feel like when your child is rude, they tag it as being outspoken when a child is rude. So she was like, why would you beat the child? You can just stop picking the disrespect adults, and you're taking it lightly. So a lot of parents feel like it's a flex for children to be rude.
Well, it is very wrong for a child to speak to an elderly person
rudely.
It is very wrong, and that child needs to be called to order, either by talking to the child, and if the child refuses to listen, you give the child age-appropriate punishment for the child. Although sometimes it may not be their fault, it's what they see at home. Yes, what their parents display in front of them.
Yes,
that gets to them, and they also do the same thing outside in school and wherever they find themselves. And some children, they also have this psychological effect on what is happening in the house.
Yes.
And they bring it to school. And they just
display
act it out. Yes. So they act it out, and it reads negative meaning to the teacher, and not unknown to the teacher. Teacher gets to discipline the child, and the child becomes angry and upset, not knowing that the parents themselves are the major cause of the problem.
Okay. Yeah. Now, parenting in this age of screen and smartphone, that's a whole different battlefield.
Of course.
How do you balance culture with TikTok, tradition with tablets?
Wow, screen time it has come to stay for parents in this century, 21st century. Yes, sometimes I allow my children use this watch cartoons, and always tell them there is time for everything.
Yes.
There is time to read, time to play, time to watch TV, time to play games on the phone. There is time for everything. So you shouldn't focus your energy or attention into one particular thing by watching just TV alone while your books are suffering. No. You read your books, you play games when it's time, you also watch TV when it's time. So I think parents should create boundaries for such
very
things.
Important.
Yes, because boundaries are very important, and that's what most of our traditional parents actually did. They created boundaries for some of these things. Unlike the contemporary parents, they feel, I don't want the child to get angry, I don't want him to be upset. You give him everything he requests for. No, it is wrong parenting. So parents should set boundaries amongst their children on what they should do and what they should not do.
Okay, ma. But don't you think those traditional parenting then has affected a lot of us? Like now, some people became timid. Some people can't really speak for themselves because of how they were raised.
Yeah. Yes, I understand what you just said. Traditional parenting can be very rigid, yes, and strict. I was actually in their shoes before. I was timid. Yes, I was always keeping to myself. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I just do my thing alone. But later on, I had to come out from my shell. And ensure that I broke off from being shy, being timid, being bullied. Because yes, even in secondary school, I was bullied.
Wow.
Yes, because of that traditional parenting from my parents, I was kind of scared about everything. Would they laugh at me? Would they do this? So I had to come out from my shell. I said, no, this must stop. So I had to break that chain, and look at me today. I can talk to anyone. I'm an educator. I can stand in front of millions of people and speak.
Now, when we talk about modern parenting, there is often this idea of freedom and flexibility. But how do you balance giving your children more freedom while also instilling values that you grew up with? In your experience, do you think contemporary parenting has helped you become a more connected parent, or do you sometimes wish you could bring back the structure of the past?
Of course, contemporary parenting has definitely made me more connected to my children. Yes, because it creates room for open communication.
Yes.
And they tend to tell me everything that happens to them in school, in church, everywhere they go to. Unlike the traditional parenting, that room wasn't there.
Yes,
there was no room for communication. There was a huge communication gap back then, and contemporary parenting has created that room for their children to be open to them. Yes, to talk to them freely. And that's why I always encourage parents as an educator that you should imbibe the 3 F's. That's be free, be firm, and be fair.
Wow.
Yes.
You heard that. Be free, be firm, and be fair. Okay, ma, let's continue. Do your children know how you were raised, and how do they react to your stories about the way things used to be?
I find that very interesting because I do tell them stories about how I was raised, and yes, they find it fascinating. And from there, questions pop up here and there, and as I explain to them, it helps them learn values, morals, and respect. Because presently, we have some parents who don't even try to involve their children in some activities that goes on in the house, like house chores and all of that. They allow them sit back and watch them do the work instead of giving them 1 or 2 jobs to do in the house, like you clean the table, wash the dishes, rinse the plates, one or two things that they can do for themselves. So yes, as a contemporary parent, it's good to allow children to have one or two responsibilities that is age appropriate for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Ma, do you think the value of respect and discipline in traditional parenting are still relevant in today's world, or have they changed?
Well, yes, it is very much relevant in today's world. Yes, respect and discipline are very, very important, because in as a parent, if you don't teach your child respect, how to respect one another, someday you'll be disrespected by your children. So you need to teach them how to respect each other. When they see an elderly person, they shouldn't wait for the elder to greet them. They should first of all greet, or even kneel, because we have cultures that when you see an elderly person, as a boy you prostrate, as a girl you kneel down, or you take a bow, whichever one that resonates with you. So it's very important that parents teach their children respect and discipline, but it shouldn't be in a coaxed state whereby they are afraid or they are not free to express themselves. So they should have that freedom of expression. When they feel something is wrong with them or they are not comfortable with some things, they should be able to talk to you about it, and they shouldn't be afraid to talk to you as a parent. Yeah.
Wow. This has been such a rich conversation. But before we round up things, I want to hear, if you could pass just one parenting value from your childhood to your children, what would it be?
Well, that would be respect. Yes, I love the attributes of respect a lot, and I imbibe that in my children. It is very important, and like they say, respect is reciprocal.
True.
So if you want to be respected, then you need to give respect in order for you to earn respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Before we go, please, what advice would you give to young parents, young mom, and young parents that are just, coming up, raising children in this age?
Okay, for young parents, I would advise you show more love to your children, bring them closer, do not push them away, try to give them listening ears because they love being heard. Yes, create room for open discussion so that they can talk to you about anything, because the moment you start now, you're going to grow with it, and when they get to that teenagers level, to the university, whatever problems they come across in life, they will definitely tell you first. You as a parent should be the first person to know what is going on in your child's life and not a stranger. So I advise that you're close to your children, give them that room for open communication. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you for sharing your insight with us.
You're welcome.
It's clear that your story is a reminder that the most important thing in parenting, new or old, it's creating strong, loving connection with our children. It's so clear that parenting is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Whether you are holding onto tradition or embracing modern methods, it's about finding what worked best for your family and shaping your children with love, respect, and understanding. My name is Emilia, and thank you for joining us today on Heart of Home. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more heartwarming stories, be sure to tune in next week. Until then, remember, no matter what styles you choose, the love we give our children is the most timeless tradition of all. See you on our next episode. Bye-bye.